This week, we're going to talk about the carnivore diet, the ketogenic diet, the differences, what worked for me, and which one might work for you. But first, let me welcome you back to the channel. Thanks for visiting. This is Stop the Clock with Brad, where we believe that aging is a choice. So let's first start with the ketogenic diet. It's the most popular one. It's been around the longest. The ketogenic diet exists where you run off of fat instead of carbohydrates. Carbohydrates, despite what the media tries to tell us, the government tries to tell us, and their bought and paid for food pyramid tries to tell us, are not necessary. They don't have any of the vitamins or minerals in them that you cannot get from meat and or vegetables. A carbohydrate is something that once it goes into your body turns into glucose. So your body doesn't know the difference between this, a loaf of bread, a Snickers bar, a healthy granola bar, or a cup of sugar. Once it goes inside your body, it all gets turned to glucose, which all initiates a large insulin response. On the other hand, when you're on the ketogenic diet, your body's running off something called ketones. Once your body gets into a state of ketosis, this happens after you've been off carbs long enough. It depends on the person. Some people 2 days, 3 days, 4 days a week. You get into ketosis, your body runs off those ketones. My brain loves them. They're my energy source. People in my gym, and I astound myself, I could not have believed 4 years ago that I could be in the gym moving the type of weight I'm moving today without carbohydrates, because I simply believed the lie that I was being told. But yes, it can be done. So on a ketogenic diet, you're eating meat with a higher proportion of fat to the protein ratio, and you're also having vegetables. So a typical meal could be something like chicken thighs with, broccoli, spinach, artichoke, any of that kind of stuff, green beans, any of the green vegetables or any of the vegetables work with that diet. And so your macros are going to be fat and protein. Now you'll get trace carbs from the vegetables, but unless you just went crazy with them, it's not going to be enough to really knock you out of ketosis. So that is the keto diet, and that's what I started on 2.5 years ago and lost a lot of my weight. Now, once my body composition got to where I wanted it, I was still having pain problems. I'd had 2 painful shoulders for years, really the majority of my 30s and 40s. And this elbow had started the exact same type of problem. I assumed I had just bad rotator cuff. They were just bad from lifting weights. Even though I've only been on this longevity lifestyle for over 2 years, I've been lifting weights for 30. Now, you can't out-train a bad diet, so that's why I looked like I did. But I was still lifting the weights. So I switched when I found out about it, and how I found out about it was just a guest on a podcast. A guy named Paul Saladino wrote a book called The Carnivore Code. And I read it, and it sounded crazy to me that vegetables, because here's his premise, that vegetables are basically poison. And it's not made up, it's true. If you go Google it, there's toxins on vegetables. There has to be. That's how they defend themselves. Think about everything in nature. An animal has a claw, they have poison in their fangs. Poison ivy, poison oak, they don't want you to touch them, so they make you itch. Most everything in nature defends itself with something, except for seeded fruits and vegetables. They want you to consume them. When you eat the seed and pass it out and fertilize it like our animal friends do, that's how they procreate. That's how they reproduce. They want that to happen. But what about spinach? What about kale? What about those? They don't have seeds. So do you think that they're the only thing out there in nature that decided, hey, I'm going to willingly give myself up for another person's good? No, they have toxins. Now, not everybody is as sensitive to them as other people, but I'm one of those people that is. So again, I thought the book sounded kind of nuts. So it took me a little while to digest it, but I said, you know what? It's worth it. So I gave it a try, and 3-4 weeks into it, the pain was gone. I could not believe it. I could not. I'm now back in the gym doing shoulder work, and I'm the strongest I've been since my 20s, in my 50s. And that was simply because I've never been, for the last 20 years, if I did shoulder work, I would have to take so many ibuprofen just to sleep. And thanks to the carnivore diet, it took that away from me and gave me my life back. Now, what is the carnivore diet? The carnivore diet is a strictly meat diet. So the idea is a cow, moo cow, if you eat the beef, so that'd be any kind of steak, the brisket, ground beef, whatever that is, then you eat the heart. Don't freak out when I say cow heart. I love it. My family eats it. They don't know they're eating it most of the time. Well, they will if they watch this video. But the heart isn't like the liver. It's just another muscle that blood runs through it. Think about it. The chest muscle of the cow, where the brisket comes from, it's just a muscle that blood runs through it. Any meat on the cow, blood has to run through it. So the heart tastes just like anything else. But the best thing about the heart, is not popular. So you can get heart for $3 and change a pound, have them grinded at the store. You got the healthiest, cheapest ground beef in the world to cook for yourself or your family. The other thing you would eat would be liver. Now I know some people love it, some people hate it. I'm glad that I like it. But if you eat beef heart, and beef liver, you get every nutrient that you need. But here's the kicker. You can eat less beef because it's more bioavailable in meat. So you can eat less meat, get more of the nutrients than you would if you were eating way more vegetables. So it's easier to do it that way. And then the only thing you can't get is potassium in high levels. And so that's where I add an avocado, because what does an avocado have? That's right, a seed. It can procreate. So that's where the potassium comes from. So in a given week, I fast. I'll have a couple meals. Those meals are going to be ground up beef heart. Usually I grind it up like ground beef, and I would eat that. I'll have a steak with an avocado one day. Another day I'll have liver with some beef heart and some type of either ground beef or steak that night. Pretty convenient. This is a great lifestyle for guys, because most of us really do like meat. So that's what the carnivore diet is. Now, carnivore worked better for me just because of the problems I had with the plant toxins. So that works for me. Now, if you try keto and you feel great, you're going to lose weight on it. Your body composition will get there, just because your calories are going to go down. And by getting rid of the carbohydrates, for most of us, the inflammation in our body will go down. The inflammation is what's causing pain. And another thing, as we age, sarcopenia is muscle wasting as we age. Well, the reason we waste muscle as we age isn't because we're necessarily aging. It's because inflammation naturally moves up in our body. So when we wake up in the morning, cortisol is what gets us up. Well, it's a combination of cortisol and DHEA that helps keep our inflammation at check. As we age, unfortunately, our DHEA levels go down while our cortisol level goes up. And there's a study that came out that showed it's this cortisol going up as the DHEA goes down that causes the inflammation to rise in our body as we age. And that inflammation causes us to absorb protein at a lower amount. So the paper says you eat 40 grams of protein when you're 30, you eat it when you're 70. If you're a normal person on the standard American diet, you're going to absorb way less of that protein at 70. What does that mean? Protein, where they're amino acids, that's how we build muscle. So if you're getting less protein, you're going to have less muscle. So how can we fight that? Well, just what we're talking about on this channel, longevity. By intermittent fasting, your cortisol levels are going to go down, your inflammation is going to go down. By eating a low carb diet, you're going to keep those inflammation levels down. So if you're keeping your inflammation levels down, your protein is going to be absorbed at a higher rate. You'll be able to sustain and build muscle. And it's really the reason I believe, again, I had to do all this or I would not have believed it. The muscle that I have, I've done this with 1 or 2 meals a day, 40 to 80 grams of protein a day. I used to eat 250 grams of protein a day and didn't look like this. And it's the only way to explain the fact that there's other people that I know, they eat way more protein than me. And I'm competitive with them with the amount of muscle in my body composition. It's really because my inflammation levels are low, and of the protein I'm eating, I'm absorbing way more of it. And someone on this type of pursuing this lifestyle, you're going to absorb way more protein than somebody that's not. And that's going to allow you to sustain your muscle and not have that muscle wasting as you age. So that's the episode. I know I kind of covered it quickly, but I know our attention spans. So if you have any questions about this, please put them in the comments. Thank you for watching. If you're enjoying the channel, please like and subscribe. And remember, aging is a choice.